And there we go. We are off with that gap up of 200 points. But to forget the banks and IT, the stock that continues to take your breath away is Coal India, third day running. And it's in pole position on the Nifty, about 1% or so higher up. That's the opening tick, and then it's cooling off now. Hindalco is the other one that's starting off pretty strong, about 2% up there. Then it's IT. It's a good, solid start for IT. Remember what happened to the NASDAQ over the last couple of sessions as well. So 1.5% up on Infosys. There is TCS as well that's seeing some early gains. By the way, the gap up is getting sold into, and this was always the big fear. We are down to about 138, 140 points thereabouts. Let's see what's cooling off. A couple of the consumer names are soft. Britannia, HUL, not doing too much. ITC, not doing too much. So consumers, little soft. But, Nigel, the Bank Nifty, for what it's worth, is looking really good. Banks and IT seem pretty solid, at least for now.
Well, that's right. Some of the big movers in pre-open trade, and in fact, it's playing out as well as expected. The IT index, by the way, made this point earlier. Nasdaq did well overnight. You have the yields that cooled off as well, and the IT index could outperform. That's precisely what's happening. Let's talk about a few more stocks then. Ethos. The numbers, I think, came out in the last couple of days, and those numbers look good. So that stock is up close to 7 to 8%. EMS Limited, one of those new listings, well, it's done very, very well from the lows. That stock as well was buzzing in early trade, so keep an eye out on that one. Manappuram, well, the street believes maybe, in fact, valuation-wise, there is some comfort out there. The numbers look fairly decent as well. It came in the closing minutes of Monday, keep in mind. But we're seeing some follow-through buying. So there's a split verdict actually out there. But for the time being, it appears that the bulls are winning. So that stock, in fact, is higher. Trident as well is higher in early trade. So that stock is up and about in early trade. You have Narayana Rudalai. We'll have the management that will be joining us as well in around 10 minutes from now. And that stock as well is opened with a gain of close to around 5% the last time I checked. On the losing end, well, you have Yatra Online. Stock is under pressure. Capacite, well, that stock as well is under some pressure, reacting to numbers. And Vocart is the other stock that has taken a bit of a knock. So just keep an eye out on that name as well. But by the way, take a look at some of these mid-cap IT names as well. Infosys is flying away. That's up close to around 4%. The metal index as well is doing well. And that normally happens when you have lower yields. Tech as well as metals, both those global-facing themes, they do relatively better. And that's what's happening. Prashant.
Well, it's green all over, and 165 on the Nifty, 19,600 plus is where the index is at, and it's looking very, very good so far. The just a few other names. I think some overlap with what we've already mentioned, but Manappuram has got the largest volumes across the board with that 7% gain. The largest volume-led gainer is Manappuram right now. 150 is where we're at. Suzlon is up about almost 5%. So there is that MSCI inclusion, and we'll kind of go back to Vivek to talk about all of those names and what's happening here, happening with those names. CAMS is up about 5%, 2,800 plus on CAMS. So that's looking very good. I think Nigel mentioned EMS, which is up 10%. EMS had a bit of a swing sharp crack, but it's come up in double time. It's recovered and kind of gone back, above the prior highs very quickly. Jaiprakash Associates is up about 4%. There was, a partial settlement with ICICI Bank actually the news came yesterday. We'll have more on that in a little bit. It's done very well. I mean, basically, from the first time that we reported that this was under the works with ICICI Bank, the stock was at $12. It's at 20, so it's done very well in short order. Narayana we mentioned. Infosys, I think we mentioned. What else? Ethos. Ethos is up 6%. Luxury watches, 2050 on Ethos. And that's a big pop which is coming through out there. Phoenix Limited is up 10%. Straight off the bat, 2,300 on Phoenix. So retail, luxury, everything. I mean, that's the pack which actually you want to focus on. And that is doing very, very well. 1,600 stocks are higher, by the way, and you only have about 300 stocks which are down. And I think we already mentioned a fair bit in terms of what is lower. Capacite Infra is down about 5.5%. NMDC, I think we mentioned, which is down about 4% or so. So, yeah, I mean, there's not very much on the downside. As I said, it's largely all green out there.
Absolutely. Just two trades I wanted to point out. Mid-cap banking is a very clear trade today. PSUs and even some of the private sector names.
Yeah.
Look at Yes Bank. Look at what's happening to this one. 4% up. A little unusual for Yes Bank to be popping 4.5% so early on in the day. And then there are the PSUs, Bank of India, etc., all up and about. There's RBL Bank, there is J&K Bank. So in general, tier 2 banks is one very clear trade right now. And so is metals. Industrial production numbers are out in China. They came out about an hour and a half back, and the numbers are looking good. They're better than expected, with the growth of almost 4.9 to about 5% on industrial output in China. Seems to be helping the entire pack, Hindalco, Tata Steel, the likes.
You know, there's also that meeting, right? President Xi,
Yes.
China is meeting President Biden.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it seems to be, and it's of course, China, the equity market in China is, of course, completely bombed out and has done very poorly relative to other parts of the world. So there seems to be a confluence of things there. But it shows up in terms of what the metal pack does here.